2 years after the October 7th massacre, Sderot, Israel's frontline city by Gaza, has absorbed a brutal lesson about self-reliance and the cost of being caught unprepared. Once known mainly as a perpetual target for Hamas rockets, Sderot has become a test case for a wider Israeli civilian defense revolution built around armed, trained locals. From abandoned construction sites to street corners and stairwells, volunteer fighters in Sderot now drill almost daily, rehearsing urban combat as if the next infiltration is only hours away. More than 2 years after Hamas's October 7th attack, the message from Sderot is stark. There will be no waiting for outside help, because the first battle will be fought by locals on their own streets. The city now counts roughly 5,000 to 5,500 armed civilians, a revamped urban combat defense division, and a mayor determined to pull security closer to municipal control instead of relying solely on the army. Sderot's defense division has begun intensive counter-terrorism training, led by veterans of Israel's elite Unit 707, with courses tailored specifically to dense, built-up neighborhoods. The program is overseen by retired Lieutenant Colonel Marc Schulman, former deputy commander of Unit 707 and now CEO of Lota Farm, the private outfit contracted to toughen Sderot's volunteer force. Schulman says the October 7th assault proved one core truth: alert squads are not a backup but the first line of defense, and they must be trained to fight effectively from the very first minutes of an attack. Commander of Training Program, retired Lieutenant Colonel Marc Schulman, said, "What happened on October 7th exposed a painful truth. The initial response came from brave individuals, but in many cases, without sufficient skills. Sometimes the level of preparedness was almost zero, and that's exactly what drove us to take this on and build it up. No matter the scenario, a terrorist cell breach, a lone attacker, a shooting rampage, a truck ramming through gates, you want them to respond quickly, accurately, and correctly. First, personal skill. Then teamwork. And when necessary, managing multiple scenes at once. In some Gaza border communities, alert squads saved their areas because they were organized, trained, and when it mattered, they delivered." Amid the stalemate, Israel's defense minister has ordered the IDF to get ready for renewed war in Gaza, arguing that Hamas's refusal to disarm leaves no room for a lasting ceasefire. Israeli leaders estimate that Hamas still fields roughly 20,000 armed fighters in Gaza and holds about 60,000 Kalashnikov rifles that they insist must be surrendered before reconstruction can truly begin. Hamas-linked sources counter that their forces now have only assault rifles and a limited stock of small improvised explosive devices, saying heavier weapons and rockets were largely depleted or destroyed. At the same time, Israel is gaming out the prospect of a multi-front war against Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and militants in the West Bank, according to reporting attributed to Channel 12. A new long-term IDF blueprint reportedly calls for dramatic expansion of Israeli military activity, even exploring the development of weapons and operational capabilities in outer space. One scenario outlined in these reports includes a potential explosive operation directly targeting Tehran, at a time when Iran is already struggling with widespread protests over economic collapse. Under this readiness plan, the IDF is said to be pursuing tools to disrupt or destroy satellites and, eventually, to strike ground targets from space-based platforms if the technology and politics allow it.